Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're taking a fascinating journey into something many people wonder about. These persistent difficulties some families seem to face, generation after generation, sometimes called curses. We're looking at the spiritual side.
That's right. And we're drawing from the teachings of Sheikh Nurjan Miramati. Specifically, a discussion titled, Truth About Family Curses and Dynasties, Works of Jinn's Demons. Our goal is really to unpack these ideas for you, see how they might connect to, modern spiritual challenges.
Okay, let's dive in. So the source suggests these persistent issues aren't just like bad luck or coincidence. It points towards an unseen world.
Exactly. It talks about the Jinn. These are unseen beings described as having a fiery, kind of unstable nature. And they live for thousands of years, apparently often in a state of, conflict.
Thousands of years. Okay, that's different. How does that link to family problems?
Well, here's where it gets really interesting. Imagine a negative jinn attaching itself to a family maybe hundreds of years ago. Because their lifespan is so incredibly long compared to ours, we might get 80, maybe 130 years. If we're lucky, that same jinn could potentially keep influencing generations.
Ah, okay. So that could explain that feeling of perpetual difficulty some families experience. It's not just one lifetime.
Precisely. The source even links broader things, like pandemics, to potential attacks from this unseen realm.
Wow. Okay, so that's the problem, potentially rooted in this unseen world. What about solutions? Does the teaching offer ways to, break free?
Yes, definitely. And it's less about directly fighting the problem and more about raising your own spiritual energy, your resonance.
Raising your resonance. How do you do that?
It's about strengthening your connection to the highest power source. According to the teachings, that's Allah Almighty, through the heart of Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him. So when you start practices like zikr, which is divine remembrance, or our words, these daily routines, like say 70 istighfar, asking for forgiveness, and meditation, using protections like taweez, they're like blessed amulets, and keeping wudu, the ritual ablution.
Yeah.
It's like turning on a light in a dark room.
Okay, turning on a light. But I remember reading that sometimes when you start these practices, things can feel weird. Maybe even harder initially.
That's a really important point. Why would things get more difficult when you're doing something positive? Think of it like this. A spiritual house cleaning. The teaching says, when the truth comes, falsehood perishes.
Right.
So these positive heavenly energies come in like spiritual police entering a house that was frankly full of negativity. There's going to be a reaction, a clash.
So that difficult feeling is actually a sign it's working, pushing out the old stuff.
Exactly. It's pushing out what was comfortably feeding off your energy in the shadows. And on the flip side, the teachings also warn about things that lower your resonance. Things like certain kinds of music or movies, even video games. They can potentially invite these lower influences, leading to possession or sickness.
So personal practice is key. Are there other ways mentioned to strengthen that connection to Allah Almighty?
Yes. The teachings talk about spiritual guides, the Ulu Amur, or saints. They act like satellite dishes. They reflect divine light and wisdom, helping connect us to that divine presence.
Okay.
And critically, the ultimate source of immense power and support is identified as Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him. His spiritual hand, so to speak, is the key to accessing mercy and power.
And the negative sources know this.
Oh, absolutely. A key strategy of negative forces, like the figure called the Dajjal, the deceiver, is to try and cut that connection, to make people feel isolated, vulnerable, like dust in the wind, by convincing them they don't need Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him, that they can connect only to Allah Almighty directly. That's presented as a satanic viewpoint, rejecting that necessary link.
Wow. Severing that connection. And maybe the most jarring idea from this source.
It really raises the stakes. The source uses a pretty chilling analogy. It suggests that for some of these jinn, humans aren't, beings to be served or helped. Humans are quite literally on the menu.
On the menu. That's stark.
It is. And understanding that and the protective role of major spiritual figures like Sayyidina Ali becomes really crucial for, safeguarding your spiritual self.
What a journey through these unseen dynamics. We've touched on how deep these generational difficulties might run and potentially into the unseen world. And crucially, that the solutions involve consciously raising our spiritual energy and connecting to Allah Almighty through Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him.
Yeah, and if you zoom out, it really paints a picture of an active spiritual world all around us, interacting with us. So maybe the thought to leave with is this. If these unseen forces are potentially so invested in human lives, What steps can you personally take today to consciously align your own energy with the highest light, the best protection available?
Something definitely worth reflecting on. Until next time, keep diving deep.